When Israel was attacked on October 7th, many of us here in America grieved with Israel. We stood with Israel, we supported Israel. But the idea of something like that happening here on our own soil was foreign, improbable, and impossible, right? Or at least those were my thoughts when I first started researching for this episode. What I found was much deeper, more comprehensive, and more frightening than I ever could have imagined. They are now in our schools, businesses, neighborhoods, and on a deeper level, in our government itself. This is Hamas's dangerous infiltration into America. To Hamas, America represents the West. A West that has supported the state of Israel and enabled their existence as a nation.
The new Jewish state is launched.
Since Hamas's stated aim is the destruction of the state of Israel, they know that one of the only ways to accomplish this is to weaken and/or intimidate the West, and thereby America, into a secession of their support for the state of Israel. There are several ways to do this, but it starts with getting their terrorists into America itself. Fortunately for them, this is the easy part.
Foreign fighters like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad are using the southern border to cross.
Just recently, American Customs and Border Protection put out an internal memo warning their staff of the risk that foreign terrorist fighters from Hamas could be attempting to enter the U.S. via the southern border. Official records state that there were 564 people encountered by Border Patrol agents at the border entry ports who were on the terrorist watch list in 2023 alone, a record number so far. Between the ports, border agents encountered 172 people on the terrorist watch list in that same amount of time. Concerning, right? Unfortunately, that's not all. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, they have caught more than 8 million people entering the U.S. illegally over the last 3 years. The data is a little hard to find, but as far as I can tell, somewhere in the realm of 30 to 40% of these illegals were slated to be sent back to their own countries. The rest are able to stay. Also, border agents logged 1.7 million known gotaways, like people probably spotted on sensors or cameras, but not intercepted. And that begs the question, if 1.7 million were seen getting away into the interior, how many more did they not see? 4 million? 6 million? More? So far in 2023, there have been 736 people caught entering illegally who were on the terrorist watch list, 1,387 since 2021. And those were the ones that were caught. If you translate the same percentage of known terrorists from among the illegal immigrants to the 1.7 million that got away, that means at least 340 escaped into the interior. But remember, those are the ones that they know got away. The numbers are probably much, much higher. Also, these are known terrorists. What about the ones that don't have a criminal record? If we have had 8 to 10 million people coming through our borders illegally over the last 3 years, and only a few million are sent back, how many of them are undercover terrorists we do not know anything about? And don't forget, these are only the numbers from the last 3 years. Hamas has been operating in the United States since the 1980s. In October of this year, George Washington University created a short book titled The Hamas Network in America, A Short History. This is a quote from that book. The network, Hamas, formalized its existence in 1988 when it created the Palestine Committee in the U.S. The committee's goals included increasing the financial and moral support for Hamas, fighting surrendering solutions, and publicizing the savagery of the Jews, in their words, not mine. Internal Hamas documents, along with FBI wiretaps introduced as evidence in various federal criminal cases, clearly show the existence of a nationwide Hamas network engaged in fundraising, lobbying, education, and propaganda dissemination, just like their original goals stated. The Palestine Committee, aka Hamas, spawned several public-facing organizations, most of which are based out of Chicago, Dallas, and Washington, D.C. They included the All-Purpose Islamic Association for Palestine, the financial arm represented by the Occupied Land Fund, and the think tank United Association for Studies and Research. In 1993, the FBI wiretapped a meeting of top Hamas activists in the U.S. held in Philadelphia. The wiretaps show internal discussions on how to improve activities in support of Hamas within the U.S. and how to shield them from the designation of Hamas as a terrorist organization. US-based Hamas activists agreed that hiding their affiliation and intentions was the best tactic to avoid negative consequences. Quote, "I swear by Allah that war is deception," said one senior leader. "Deceive, camouflage, pretend that you're leaving while you're walking that way. Deceive your enemy. Let's not hoist a large Islamic flag, and let's not be barbaric talking. We will remain a front so that if the thing, the US government ban on Hamas, happens, we will benefit from the new happenings instead of having all of our organizations classified and exposed." Over the years, US authorities have conducted several activities to clamp down on the network, including deporting and prosecuting Hamas operatives and shutting down multiple front organizations. The 2001 designation of HLF and subsequent prosecution of part of its leadership for funneling approximately $12.4 million to Hamas to date constitutes the largest successful terrorism financing prosecution in US history. Yet, US-based Hamas networks and individuals have displayed a remarkable resilience, and many of the core activists of the Palestinian Committee are still engaged in various forms of support, albeit at times purely political and not material for Hamas. Radical jihadist Islam is not simply a problem that Israel is dealing with. Today we are seeing radical terrorism and its supporters raise their ugly heads all over the world. America's foundations are crumbling and its core institutions are being corrupted. Generations of Americans are being taught to hate America and its values. What can the United States do to confront this radicalism and rediscover its founding principles? And what can America learn from the world's most enduring nation, which has held onto its values for more than 3,000 years? Watch the all-new documentary, Confronting Radicals: What America Can Learn from Israel, as it exposes the radical leftist plan to transform the United States and reveals how America can rediscover its founding principles by learning from Israel's enduring commitment to freedom and morality. Based on a miraculous true story of one father and his 3-year-old son's survival after being shot by terrorists in Israel, and featuring American and Israeli experts, this film is both gripping and compelling. Visit confrontingradicals.com to watch this brand new documentary completely free today. Created by Israel 365 with production by our very own team here at the Israel Guys, we are super excited to let you know that you can watch Confronting Radicals: What America Can Learn from Israel today. Visit confrontingradicals.com or click the link down in the description below to learn how you can watch Confronting Radicals today. They've even managed to infiltrate our government in various ways. For example, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has a long history of anti-Israel rhetoric and support for terrorism. This is from JNS. Representative Rashida Tlaib has extensive fundraising ties to Hamas supporters and, in fact, hired 3 activists with links to the terrorist organization to fundraise for her 2018 campaign, according to an investigation by the watchdog group Canary Mission. The Congresswoman, who has been long accused of anti-Semitism and who has come under fire for refusing to remove a social media post blaming Israel for a Palestinian Islamic Jihad attack on Al-Ala Arab Hospital in the northern Gaza Strip, hired one person who spent 8 months in prison for alleged connections to Hamas, according to Canary Mission. We can assume the infiltration goes much deeper than that. We have one case that came to the surface recently in the House Committee on Homeland Security, where they opened an investigation on a woman who worked for the Department of Homeland Security. Apparently, several years before being hired by the DHS, this woman worked for the Palestinian Liberation Organization, a sister terrorist organization to Hamas. Her affiliation came to light as she was glibly sharing pro-Hamas content on her social media pages following the October 7th massacre. She was an asylum officer and an immigration adjudicator. So those 8 to 10 million illegal immigrants our DHS is processing, I think you know where this could have gone. And this is a woman that they caught. How many more are there that no one knows about? The pro-Hamas, anti-Israel crowd has been more active than ever in the weeks following October 7th. A protest tracking group in the United States has reported nearly 3 times as many anti-Israel events as pro-Israel ones in October. The ADL Center on Extremism notes a nearly 400% increase in anti-Semitic incidents reported since October 7th over the same time period last year. In speaking to a Senate panel last month, FBI Director Christopher Wray said, although Jews make up only about 2.4% of the US public, they account for about 60% of all religious-based hate crimes in our country. Soon after the Hamas massacres, a former Hamas leader called for a global day of rage. Hundreds of people in cities across the United States march in support of Hamas. But since then, crowd sizes have swelled to hundreds of thousands of people and often turn violent. While it's true many of these people publicly claim to disavow Hamas, their chants of "From the river to the sea" and "Free Palestine" ring out louder, exposing their true stance. What can we do with all this alarming information about Hamas in our own backyard? How long will it be before the atrocities Israel experienced on October 7th strike closer to home? It's time to pull our heads out of the sand if we care, not just about Israel's survival, but for our own freedoms and the world our children and grandchildren will grow up in. Being aware of the radical agenda to destroy much of what we hold dear is a step in the right direction, but it needs to be followed by action. The first thing we need to do is to speak out boldly in support of Israel's right to destroy Hamas in Gaza. As the IDF is engaged in a fight to destroy Hamas from its roots, it's important that we not be silent, but find ways to proactively support Israel. Engage with your communities and support truthful education about the beacon of freedom Israel is and the danger of allowing radical hatred to creep into our societies. Take the next step and watch an all-new documentary, Confronting Radicals: What America Can Learn from Israel, as it exposes the radical leftist plan to transform the United States and reveals how America can rediscover its founding principles by learning from Israel's enduring commitment to freedom and morality. Based on a miraculous true story of one father and his 3-year-old son's survival after being shot by terrorists in Israel, and featuring American and Israeli experts, this film is both gripping and compelling. Visit confrontingradicals.com to watch this brand new documentary completely free today.